is and here at Meta. Um, and yeah, hopefully get some more interest in the product because we're doing some really cool stuff. So really quickly, just before I go into my presentation, as Robert mentioned, I'm a GIS analyst by training. I've since moved to Meta and I'm working more in a community building sense now. And I'm located in Boston. So I'm here in one of our meeting rooms in the office. You can tell it's sort of like Boston Marathon themed. So if you're wondering about my background, that's what's going on there. But I'm also originally from New York. But I'll say this here, I said it in my Houston GPN meeting, but my parents met in Texas. So Texas is the reason why I am here today. So always love, giving back to, the Texas community. So with further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. So what is Mapillary? That's the product that I'm going to be presenting for you all today. It is a platform for street level imagery powered by collaboration and computer vision. So that's a pretty broad statement, but we'll kind of dig into what this actually means in a little bit. To start, we have over 2.4 billion images and counting. So just an incredible amount of imagery from all over the world, in islands and, every archipelago, every continent, every city for the most part. Washington, D.C. is probably one of our best examples of like the city scale in America. So I have that thrown up there. You could see really nicely with, the bounds of the Washington, D.C. polygon that, they cover pretty much everything. And so that's sort of the model that we're looking to build here is that we can cover the world with imagery on Mapillary. So computer vision, if you aren't
Can you
familiar
open
with,
your light there and show me what the deal is?
oh, so computer vision, if you're not familiar with computer vision, it is the sort of, you can think of it as a machine learning, built on top of machine learning. And we're able to extract real world assets from imagery and position them on the map. So this GIF right here, you can sort of tell what we have done, and this is the technology that rides on Mapillary, is that when you upload imagery to the platform, we're able to extract out point clouds and thus build out object detections and then actually place said objects on the map. So it's been a super, super powerful algorithm that we've had for a while now. Mapillary was started in 2013, so it's been a long time that we've been working in this space. And yeah, so we use computer vision to create open data. So you can sort of think of it as like a conveyor belt line. The imagery you bring into Mapillary will extract out meaningful insights for you, such as like stop signs, traffic signs. I'll dig into that more a little bit later. And we believe that collaboration is really like the way in which we can create better maps all over the world. So Mapillary, for context, is 100% free and 100% open. So all of our developer tools are open source, but also most importantly, all of our imagery falls under a Creative Commons license, which this is a little bit different than, probably our closest, synonym like Google Street View. With Google, you can view the imagery, but you can't actually use it. Um, the nice thing about Mapillary is that because we sit under the Creative Commons license, anybody is able to use the imagery around the world for anything they'd like. Um, so in this graphic here, you'll sort of see that the pipeline, a lot of our imagery is used for OpenStreetMap editing. You cannot edit OpenStreetMap with Google Street View images. They forbid that. But with Mapillary, you can. So we've had about over 500,000 change sets across the world made using Mapillary imagery. Mapillary imagery and our associated map features are also used by companies across the globe. and nonprofit organizations. So throughout the years, companies like Apple, Mapbox, Amazon have all uploaded imagery to Mapillary to help build out their mapping services. But more importantly, we also have groups actively contributing to Mapillary, like the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, the American Red Cross, the World Bank. And if I were to update this graphic today, there'd be, dozens more municipal level organizations, like AEC firms. So many people are using Mapillary today in this collaborative fashion. Um, since we have this open license. So that's sort of like a little introduction there. I'd like to kind of dig into the weeds now and tell you more about how Mapillary actually works. So I've been talking about imagery. I've called that out a lot of times, but you know, what imagery can you actually bring to Mapillary? Fortunately, you can bring imagery from pretty much every camera you'd like. So we offer smartphone apps to actually capture imagery just using your mobile phone. We are well integrated with the action camera spaces. So like the GoPro 360 cameras, specifically the GoPro Max, that's our favorite. The Insta 360 cameras, Ladybug cameras, pretty much any action camera you can get your hands on, whether it's 360 degree or like planar imagery, will support. We also support dash cams such as like black view, and of course 360 cameras, whether they're from a professional rig or something more like the GoPro, um, will make it possible for you to upload any imagery that you have as long as it's geotagged. So I touched a little bit on the mobile apps there, but the mobile apps are a really, really great way, sort of like the gateway drug to Mapillary. That's what we like to kind of call them. So if any of you guys are interested in Mapillary after this presentation, I'd say go download the mobile app and it'll allow you to turn your phone into a, capture rig in its own right. So with the Mapillary app, you can, click off to start recording. You can walk around, drive around, bike around. People put their phone on car, windshield mounts. They'll put them on their bikes. I've seen people walk with actually like helmets on, or sometimes people will use like those little baggies that you can put around your neck, or you could just hold in your hands. And when you walk and you can capture imagery, you can then upload it straight from the mobile app. And from there, it'll kick off the process to start, anonymizing all of the license plates and faces. And then it'll start positioning your images on the map and creating object detections and extracting out point features. So the mobile app basically allows you to do anything you'd want with Mapillary as far as from the uploading perspective. Another thing we offer is the desktop uploader, which is super great if you're working with, a camera like the GoPro or any non-mobile phone, right? And it's super simple drag and drop GUI that allow you to upload a series of folders or files, position them on the map. You can kind of quality check that, the GPS traces look right or that, all your images, are front facing and don't have any, sometimes you might get like a hand in your image. You can delete those images, reposition them. The desktop uploader is our super easy way to just upload camera files in bulk directly from your computer. It's about 3 or 4 clicks. That's all you really need, to upload your images to Mapillary. So I just talked about our two main upload methods, but like what actually is Mapillary? What can you do with it? How can you view your images you upload? The bulk of that you're going to do on the Mapillary web app. So the Mapillary web app you can kind of think of as akin to Google Earth. We have Street View imagery all over the world, and it's a really simple, intuitive web app that just allows you to zoom in, click on your imagery. You have that side panel there that's open right now where you can view all your captures. filter captures by a date range, or filter map features by a specific value. It pretty much enables you to get a quick look at the world around you or wherever you're interested in viewing imagery in a way that's super shareable. Probably the best part about the web app is that all of the different parameters that you can toggle on, like the filtering, the zoom level, which user's imagery you're looking at, all of those are hard coded into URL links. So it's super easy to share, like say if you're interested in a stop sign that's caught in an image in an intersection, you can just quickly share the URL to your coworker, and that way they'll see the same exact thing that you see. There's no need for them to sift through old imagery or figure out what you're looking for. Um, so we make it pretty easy to do collaborative work on the web app. I touched a little bit on the data that we extract, but I'd like to kind of dial into that a little bit further now. Um, so there's two main data classes that Mapillary can offer for you or for your organization that I think are really, really useful to a lot of people. Number one is the object detections. So these are, you can think of as the in-image detections for different objects or things. They're powered by semantic segmentation, which is a computer vision principle. And we offer over 150 detections for, common roadside features, but also as well as things like the sky or grass or a tree. So that first image in the top there is a good example of what our object detections look like behind the scenes. So pretty much if we have a cluster of pixels that we predict to all be of the same object, we'll put a nice bounding box around them and, call out what that object is or take our best guess, in our algorithm. And so you can view those on the web app, and you can also query them in a number of ways, which I'll talk about later. Probably the more interesting and more relevant product that we have for GIS professionals in particular are our map features. So these are triangulated object detections that we have positioned on the map using multiple images and building them out together. So how it works is that if you have, for example, a garbage can that you see in three consecutive images, we'll be able to take those GPS coordinates of those three consecutive images, understand the depth within the image that the trash can is actually in, and using the XY plane plus the GPS coordinates and a lot of computer vision magic, we're able to predict where that object is on the map. So that image I have there looks a little bit chaotic, but you know, we detect a lot of different features. So we have over 1,500 street sign classes and 40 plus roadside point features available as map features that you're able to bring into a GIS, a database, any other system you're looking to implement them into. As far as positional accuracy goes, we can't do benchmarking on every camera out there, but the GoPro Max camera is one of our most popular cameras that people upload with. It's also fairly affordable at around, I think, $400 retails for right now. And we're able to get 2 meter accuracy from uploading GoPro Max imagery, which is really remarkable, right? You're getting 2 meter accuracy just from imagery and GPS traces alone. So it's a pretty insane, feature that we're offering for free. So I've touched a little bit, I've hinted at it as how you can actually work with our data. Fortunately, we have a number of options that make it really easy to use. So we have the Mapillary API, which you can use directly in something like an ArcGIS Pro notebook, or build out a Python script, call it directly in a web browser, whatever makes the most sense for you. We also have the Mapillary Python SDK, which sort of builds off of our API, but makes it easier to work with Mapillary directly in Python. So with the Python SDK, you can do things like pull all map features from within a given input polygon. So you could, crop the map features to your city bound or whatever you might be interested in there. Um, Most importantly, for our GIS users as well, we have the ArcGIS Pro add-in, which will allow you to view your imagery within ArcGIS Pro and actually digitize off of it. And then more for developers, we have coverage tiles and Mapillary JS. Our coverage tiles you're able to, use to visualize your Mapillary coverage or full Mapillary coverage within a web app or even on ArcGIS Pro. And then Mapillary JS is for those who are interested in building out custom street level imagery experiences for their own imagery. We give you all the tools to use there. You can build out custom annotations, like note taking, etc. People are using Mapillary JS to build a lot of cool things. As I mentioned, all of this is free. The only thing you need to use or to have to use our developer tools is an API token, which you can grab from making your account on mapillary.com. Really quick, for those of you in the audience who are in the OpenStreetMap community, I think I touched on this a little bit as well. But we have, been a critical part as far as, adding new information to OpenStreetMap based on street level imagery. Mapillary is the preferred platform to do so. We offer direct integrations into OpenStreetMap editors like JOSM and Rapid that allow you to view street level imagery within the editing surface there. So if you're an OpenStreetMapper, definitely recommend uploading to Mapillary and seeing if it improves your editing experience in your community. So now I'm going to kind of turn and shift to some community stories and talk about, how people are using Mapillary in the real world. I know I was just pretty technical and like theoretical in this first part of the presentation, but hopefully these stories are able to kind of showcase the ways in which you could use Mapillary yourself. So probably my favorite, story is the city of Detroit. I saw there was somebody in the crowd here from Lansing, so maybe you're familiar with the Detroit story already. So the city of Detroit, if you look at the coverage map there, they have covered every single street. I think technically like 99.8% of the streets within Detroit on Mapillary. Detroit's a pretty big city, so it's a pretty remarkable feat. Some quick facts. They started contributing to Mapillary in 2018. Mapillary is their preferred product for street level imagery hosting. They use it to share imagery between departments, like their public works department, their GIS department, whoever needs the imagery. It's publicly available on Mapillary, and anybody can access it super easily. They decided to join Mapillary and start contributing to Mapillary because they found that the street level imagery vendors that they were working with had really restrictive licensing, and it made it difficult for them to actually share imagery between different departments within the city or different city organizations. So they decided, number one, we want to be able to save a bit of money there and make it more open for our, teammates, but then also the community. But number two, they also liked the opportunity to be able to capture imagery whenever they wanted in their own hands. So what they did was they, started a pilot project where they had one GoPro. This was back more in like 2016. So it wasn't a 360 GoPro. And they started capturing streets in Detroit. They realized that it was going pretty well and it was something that seemed realistic. And so they ended up getting multiple grants, most recently a $400,000 grant in 2020 to actually go out and buy a professional capture rig. So they use a Trimble rig equipped with Ladybug cameras that they drive around pretty much every day to collect new Street View imagery. So for the past, I would say like 5, 6 years or so, they've had two full-time drivers employed by the city of Detroit who are capturing imagery and uploading it to Mapillary as their full-time job. And from this imagery, they are able to, number one, share it openly. Number two, use it to build out their own computer vision models for Detroit-specific objects. And actually, most interestingly, they were actually able to use Mapillary to challenge the 2020 census. So that's an interesting story that largely falls on the fact that they were consistently updating their own imagery, each day. So, Google Street View might only to drive the city of Detroit's roads like once a year, or they were only getting vendor imagery maybe once every 2 years. But because they're using Mapillary, they had a lot of great evidence that there were people living in homes that the Census Bureau actually marked as unoccupied. So they were able to put together, a lot of documentation just from looking at mapillary imagery, dated for early 2020 that, hey, like there are cars parked in these driveways, like the house lights are on. And because of that, because of, their practice of uploading imagery pretty much, every day, they were able to actually challenge the census and win it. If they didn't have this practice of capturing imagery, on a really, really, repetitive cadence, they would not have been able to, for the first time in I think like 50 years, say that the population in Detroit was growing. Um, so this was probably my wordiest case study, but it's just a super cool, situation they have going on in Detroit. And the manager there, Ted, is just a really incredible guy. We actually have a great blog post on Detroit on our Mapillary blog that I would encourage any of you to check out if you're interested in learning their story. And Ted's always available via email to chat too. He gives a lot of tips out, to people looking to replicate what he's doing in Detroit. Some quicker stories, but Fresno County, California, they are, I think, the county in California that operates the most amount of roadways within the state. So they have a lot of unique problems there. One of them being that Google Street View did not drive fire access roads, old dirt roads up kind of in the more unpopulated areas of the county. And that was becoming a real issue with 911 operators. They didn't know what they had there, they didn't know what the roads looked like. Um, and so they realized they had to take matters into their own hands, similarly to Detroit. So Ryan, that's the guy there on the right. He, built out this whole program where they also have people driving in the field, not as often as Detroit, but probably every few weeks to go get fresh imagery and make sure they're staying up to date on their asset inventory, but then also making sure that their roads are well documented in the case of emergency. Kind of stepping away from like municipal examples is the city of Milan. So I didn't really touch on this, but Mapillary has a massive, actually hobbyist community as well. A lot of them are tied to OpenStreetMap, but some of these people are just out there capturing imagery because they believe in open data, and they want to see their world mapped. So in Milan, we have a pretty remarkable thing going on right now where we have three individuals, Jacopo, Marcus, and Taichi, who are mapping the city of Milan in 360-degree imagery together. Which, Milan, if you've ever been there, is a really complex city with a lot of narrower streets and different types of roadways. So there are roads that Google Street View just doesn't go to. So between the three of them, and these are just, their efforts walking around and driving the streets, they themselves have uploaded over 5 million images and counting in Milan and are building out that database themselves. So I guess I want to make clear, Mapillary isn't just for the occupational user, but it can also be for the individual who wants to directly, you know, provide imagery to help out other organizations, humanitarian efforts, OpenStreetMap editors. There's a lot of, great movement out there and ways to get involved in Mapillary, even if you're not doing it organizationally. Um, this is a really exciting example that is closer to home to me. And this is actually a really new example too, so we're super excited about this example. The town of Wellesley, in Massachusetts, it's a Boston suburb, about like 35 minutes if there's good traffic, outside of the city. Their police chief, of all people, found Mapillary and decided that it was exactly what they needed, to be able to keep their roadways up to date for their police officers. Similar to some of the other stories I mentioned, Google Street View had been an issue for them. The town of Wellesley didn't have an imagery provider that the police could use. And, you know, roads were not up to date, and it was causing issues, if police had to be dispatched out to certain areas. So the police chief found Mapillary and decided that he was going to capture it all himself. So he drove around in his police vehicle, unmarked though, and captured every single road in Wellesley and actually enlisted his son to bike around all of the different trails in Wellesley as well. So he brought them to his fellow police officers. He also brought this to the town of Wellesley and all the other organizations in Wellesley using imagery. And now they have a great up-to-date database that they're all able to collaboratively use, to make their town better. Um, Interestingly enough, Wellesley, if you're familiar with the Boston Marathon, is a really, really popular part along the marathon course. They have like the Scream Tunnel with the Wellesley College students. The police chief, actually gave the mapillary imagery to the Boston Marathon, organizers, so that they could make sure that, the road looked great and everything was ready, before the marathon hit, because there's obviously a lot of planning that goes on there. Um, so that was a super great example too of how mapillary imagery isn't just useful for, the long term, but can also be used for one-off things like planning a marathon or, figuring out, a different plot of land for a new development or whatever it may be. It doesn't always have to be imagery of like the unchanging world. Um, so hopefully those case studies, gave you a good idea of kind of what you can use Mapillary for. But I'm happy to take any questions about that as well, or kind of crunch some ideas if anybody wants to follow up after this. But I'd sort of like to end with, the why one more time, and why you might want to use Mapillary. Um, so first and foremost, you can contribute to open data and help others make better maps. I think we're kind of at the place now where open mapping and open data in general, are on the rise in the world. And Mapillary is a really great way, to kind of contribute to that in your own right. Um, you know, Researchers across the world are using Mapillary to build out new data sets for, urban studies and, roadway condition studies and machine learning training on the built world. And they're using Mapillary imagery kind of to start that. Similarly, there are always humanitarian organizations that are using imagery to help make the world safer, especially in developing countries. So, open data is just something that I think we're seeing a lot of, traction with, and we're hoping that more and more municipalities, and private and public sector organizations are looking to get on board, with contributing to Mapillary in that way. Number two, uploading to Mapillary, the ability to upload imagery and collect imagery on your own hands and have a free place to host it, will help your community become more resilient. We see that with all those case studies I just showed. There were real advantages, to being able to call back on imagery that was, only taken 2 months ago versus 2 years ago. So that's a really big point there. Sort of just touched upon it, but Mapillary allows you to take SLI capture into your own hands. With vendors, they might only come around once every 6 months, or you might not get Google Street View imagery for several years. But with Mapillary, we'll host it, we'll process it, we'll anonymize it, all for free, and we're able to handle large amounts of uploads at any time. So it's all done very quickly. Your imagery would be fully processed within 48 hours, in most cases. Um, of course, because it is free, it also makes it an affordable asset management solution. Given our accuracy of our map features and the breadth of, different features we support, it becomes a really great option for, keeping track of your traffic sign database in your town or understanding where there are public trash cans, public benches, public facilities, streetlights, understanding where your data is, and then having a free suite of APIs and integrations that allow you to work with the data in your preferred, GIS tool or method, is a really powerful thing, and it'll allow you to, get a lot of insights quickly that might otherwise be writing on, vendor data that you get once a year. Um, so it's a really great way, even if you do have vendor data that you already get, or if you're already, going out in the field and surveying it yourself. It's also just a great secondary point of reference to have as well. And the fact that it's open and public, makes it super easy to do so. With that being said, the last thing I'd love to touch upon is that we are bringing back our camera grant program, this time for organizations as well as individuals. So we have done throughout the years several iterations of our camera grant program where we give out GoPro Maxes and battery packs and the mounts you would need, all for free, to individuals and organizations that we believe will upload imagery and make their communities better. So this go around, we have 40 cameras that we are giving out on a rolling basis. We launched the program back in April. So we've already given out, I believe, like 5 or 6 of the cameras, but we're still accepting applications to this program. So if your community is interested in, getting a GoPro camera, if you think that it would, street capturing your own street level imagery would be something you're interested in, please scan the QR code. It'll take you right to the application form. And I also encourage you to check out our blog post announcement of the post for full details. Um, so that's linked there directly in my slide, but I will send over a link directly to Robert after this as well. Hopefully he can follow up with that too. But yeah, this is a super great program. We're so excited it's back. And hopefully somebody in this audience, maybe a few of you in the audience, will end up being a recipient because we're just super excited for the opportunity to help new members and existing members start contributing more high quality 360 imagery in their community. So with that being said, that's all I got. Definitely follow Mapillary on LinkedIn. That's the platform where we're most active. You can reach out to me at my Meta email address or directly in LinkedIn. Would love to talk with people if there's interest in Mapillary. But yeah, I hope there's some enthusiasm for the product. It's a really exciting time, I think, to be working in the open data space. And so I'm super excited, to have been able to present to you all today, and hopefully somebody's got some questions for me.
Yeah, we got some good questions. Yeah, thanks for that, Marcy. Very good. So we had some good questions. Let's see. So, and I think I might have tried this before, but how can we get? Jeanette asks, how can we get point features from Mapillary into GIS?
That's a great question. Yeah, so the way you would be able to do that is through the Mapillary API or the Mapillary Python SDK. You're able to, filter by your account, a date range, whatever filters you might need to kind of get the granularity you want. And you'll be able to grab a GeoJSON from our API. You can actually directly on our web app download a GeoJSON of map features in a smaller area right from our web app. That'll just send a GeoJSON to your browser downloads. So that's a great way to kind of test out kind of how our map features look and how they work. But note that that won't have the full attribution. So in short, the Mapillary API is the way to go. And for like a GIS system, it's super easy to call it within like an ArcGIS Pro notebook.
Yeah, and I believe I tried to do it with like stop signs or something, and everything's classified in there. So someone else is asking a question about trees. So I think you could classify it and probably pull out trees as part of the API.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trees right now, I believe we do not have a map feature, like a point map feature for, but they are an object detection within the images. So that is something where there's sort of two options with, working with Mapillary with trees. You could either call on images, the object detections within the images and take their GPS coordinates and infer from there. Or probably, especially if you're kind of looking at like a tree-lined road or something, my best suggestion there would be actually using the Mapillary ArcGIS Pro add-in, which allows you to digitize straight off of the imagery. So you'd be able to click on an image within ArcGIS Pro, double click it, add a new point to your feature class. So that's
Yeah,
a super easy way to kind of build out a data set on trees from Mapillary imagery.
yeah, that's just one by one at that point. All right,
Right.
we have another good question. Lots of thumbs up on security and privacy issues. How do you address those things? I know in Street View you can say, please, blur out my house or something like that. Is there something similar around security and privacy issues with Mapillary?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So when any imagery is uploaded to Mapillary, the first step in our processing platform is that we anonymize it. So we are blurring the faces because we're a part of Meta. We have top tier, top of the notch blurring algorithms. We're blurring faces and we're blurring license plates. And immediately after we do that, we delete the original imagery. So nowhere on our servers do we store the unblurred imagery. So that's sort of the first step. But then we also do offer blurring tools that you can access directly in our web app that allow you to blur out houses, blur out anything additionally that you might want to blur within images, and submit requests to blur those too, which do get auto approved normally. Um, so basically, our algorithm is great that you shouldn't need to blur much on your own, but we offer the similar tools like Google does to request additional blurs if needed. Additionally, we do have services like reporting images, and of course, you can delete your own images at any time as well.
Very good. So best practices, what are the best, I mean, you've already said the GoPro Max, but heights, time of day for capturing anything to avoid like, um, bright, sunny or snow or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great question too. So as far as capturing, best practices differ a little bit depending on what your setup is. But if you're using a 360-degree camera like a GoPro, normally we suggest using like a suction cup mount on the top of your car, placing it in the center of your vehicle. So that way the 360-degree imagery is even and not sort of like skewed towards having like the back of the truck in a lot of the imagery. Normally, we recommend that you have it on a like tripod mount so that it's up a little bit from the car. That helps with getting the most actual surroundings and less of your car if you're driving with one. As far as time of day, um, typically, we recommend number one, never capture at night. That's probably doesn't need to be said. But the best capture days tend to be overcast days, where there's not, a ton of glare opportunity. But for the most part, if it's a sunny day, it's probably fine as long as you're not approaching on, sunrise or sunset, where you can get, kind of intense shadowing sometimes. Uh, I think another capture tip is, rain honestly, it's not as big of a deal as you would think with most of these cameras. So if it's light rain, that's totally fine. If you're using our mobile apps, we actually have, some programming there to actually ensure that the camera doesn't blur when there's rain. So yeah, I think as far as capture tips, the best thing is to make sure that you aren't capturing kind of in these really extreme kind of end of day lighting situations.
Okay. Well, and Jeanette asked a question, but I'm going to kind of answer it because I'm an enthusiast as well. So I'm going to
Yeah,
share my screen
let me stop sharing.
just because I'm, GIS guy like the rest of us, and I want to be able to share this stuff out. So I have an Insta360 and a GoPro Max that I use and walk around with, and I do step off the roadway, right? I have one mounted on my car, but I am sharing, right? Yeah. I have
Yep.
one mounted on my car, but I prefer to actually take it out on the trails
You can,
and
not,
walk around with it. So here's a short little, I was out birding this weekend
I
and
think,
saw bald eagle, saw bald eagle.
I
That
think
was
your screen
amazing.
isn't
But it's,
sharing.
what's that?
I think your screen isn't sharing.
All right. Yeah. I hit the share button, but I didn't hit the
Oh man.
second share button.
There we go. There we go.
Sorry. Typical new user mistake. So yeah, let me zoom out again. So I like to step off the roads and go out to the trails. So this weekend I went up into the woodlands and went birding. And here's just an example of what I was able to capture. And I used that uploader and I put it in there. I've only had one problem with the uploader, and that was images came in upside down. But you can see it automatically blurs out everything when you're moving along, and it has a nice play feature that'll just tick along as you've been walking. So this is done with video instead of instant captures along the way. I don't know, it just prefers that a little bit better, but automatically zooms everything or blurs everything out. So yeah, I'm not quite up to the level of usage as those guys in Milan, but I do have 353 kilometers of imagery captured because I have stuck it on my car and driven around with it a couple of times. So it's super easy to use. I encourage anybody else to go out and use it and capture things because there's a lot of places that Street View doesn't go, and then you get to control how this is used. And now you have this resource to go out and extract sign data and maybe not birds, but that'd have been cool too. All right. That's all we got, unless there's any more questions. Thank you all for participating.
Yeah, I think I see a couple more questions in the
All
chat.
right, good.
Um, so yeah, I can address those. So S Bagri asked, what is the benefit to Meta? Like how is this data being used by Meta? Like why is it free? So Meta does host Mapillary, and provide Mapillary entirely for free. And we take all the hosting costs. Um, but of course, we do, use mapillary imagery in similar ways that, our user community is using it. So for us, that looks like we have like POI extraction, so point of interest extraction algorithms on our side that we use to help build out our mapping surfaces to build out like, our database of like Facebook places. So for example, if there was a business, like some cafe in downtown Houston that we did not already have on our Facebook places, we have pipelines that exist that are able to pull out the like street sign or like the road, the business sign, and actually figure out what the sign actually says and then add that, we can add the opening hours and stuff directly to our like Facebook, Instagram mapping surfaces there. Another thing we're working on that we use Mapillary imagery for is our AR and VR products. So, there's this whole concept of virtual positioning, which means that you can, if you've ever used your phone in like a urban area and you're trying to find directions to like a nearby shop, sometimes you'll notice, it happens to me all the time on my iPhone, that like the direction that your phone thinks you're pointing in um, might not actually be right. So we're building out this concept of virtual positioning that allows you to combine GPS input from your phone and then also, you know, if you have all these geotagged images that are for sure showing, this image shows this building, we're able to kind of build out this virtual world map behind the scenes to help position you better on the map. So that's sort of the two main things that we internally at Meta use the Mapillary imagery for. But similar to like our other products, like our llama models and whatnot, we do really believe in open source collaboration, which is largely why we have continued to make Mapillary free. It actually used to be a paid product before Meta purchased it. So that was the answer to that question. I saw one more question. How do I ensure the best positional accuracy of the collected features? So that largely is determined by the power of your GPS unit. So for the GoPro Max, like that has a pretty decent GPS. That will, get you 2 meter accuracy, as I said. But there are also external, like, GPS units, like RTK, GNSS units. Those you can use in combination with a camera like a GoPro to actually drill down on even more precise imagery. There are a couple units out there, and if you're interested, I can send some direct links for some really powerful devices that, can actually uh, have a correct GPS trace in a tunnel. So there are products out there that work really well. You can combine them with a camera, and we allow external GPX tracks to be uploaded alongside of imagery. So you can kind of overwrite the existing imagery in the camera. Um, the last thing I will say about that too is the way that our processing pipeline works. Every time new imagery is uploaded in a given area, you're actually able to we adjust the position of map features. So if you drove a street with your GoPro Max one time, and then you drive it 3 more times, we're actually going to drill down on an even more accurate position because we have more input data. So that's sort of, another way you can think of it is the more imagery you upload, the more accurate your map features are. But if you only upload one sequence and you're using a GoPro, it'll be right around 2 meter accuracy. Yes, I'll send them to Robert, some good GNSS options for additional accuracy. Yeah, I also see Danielle, your comment about blog posts and how city governments can start working with Mapillary. I'll send over a lot of great blog examples that can kind of highlight some case studies too. We have, folks from all over the country using it. On the municipal level, we have quite a few state DOTs who use Mapillary as well.
Yeah, and I put the Mapillary blog link in the comments.
Amazing.
So she could go see that. And that's the one that had Detroit in it. So I figured that was
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great one. I wrote that blog too, so I'm a little biased,
yeah,
but
that's right.
yeah. And yeah, Cassandra, the camera grant application is only for residents of the United States right now. We do plan to expand the program in the coming months to support users in other countries as well.
Yeah, and I participate in a group called the Bayou Land Conservancy. So I think they might, because lots of trail maintenance. So
Right.
if they had a device that mapped out these trails, that would be useful for them. So they might might be applying.
Yeah, tell them to apply. Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Um, I guess that is it. Now we've answered all the questions. Thank you all for participating. We hope to, yeah, thanks again, Marcy, for presenting.
Of course.
And it's good to see you again. And we'll see you out at one of the conferences maybe soon, or next visit to Texas.
Yeah, yeah. We'll be at State of the Map US, and we'll also be at the Esri UC this summer. So hope to see some of you guys there.
Yeah, they got good swag at the SVUC.
Yeah. So I've heard.
All right. Thanks, guys. Very
Yeah.
good.
Thank you
All
all
right.
for attending. Thanks,
All
Robert.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.